Hey, thanks for downloading my podcasting checklist. Just wanted to talk you through it real quick and explain some of the things in it and give you an idea of what I think is really important, what some of the easier steps are. So, first, let's start in planning here. Number one here, the goals of your podcast and the description. These things right here are the most important to me. I think a lot of podcasts fail or end up failing because they don't go into it thinking about what the podcast is for, what the message is going to be, who the ideal listener is. So, this is the step where you need to identify what your message is and who you want to reach so that if you're eventually trying to sell a product or service to them, you're actually getting listeners that are going to want to buy that product or service. Or if you're trying to solve a problem, trying to reach as many people as possible that are going to listen to that problem and your solutions. Choosing a title is pretty important in Apple Podcasts and iTunes. This is going to be the main way that people find you. So your title should include essentially really what your podcast is about. It's not a good idea to name it the Danny Osmond Show or something like that, where it's just your name. You want to figure out what the problem is you're solving and try to mention that in the title of the podcast. Format, pretty self-explanatory. Length. Right now, I say ideally 30 minutes or less. There is some new information starting to come out that longer can actually be better. Weekly is the sort of standard, but people are also doing pretty well with every 2 weeks. Your artwork, your music and sounds. I like to make sure that the music and sounds match the theme or the feel of your podcast. Okay, and let's continue down here. Here's your gear. Reason I recommend the ATR 2100 is simply, well, I'm speaking to you using one right now, and it's going to work in as many places as possible because it's a dynamic microphone. It's going to cut out some of the room. It's also going to work on most people's voices and sound good. A Skype recorder or Zoom is a good choice here. Talk about a quiet room if you can make sure that you have absorptive surfaces like carpet, drapes, and things like that around. Here's your software for recording, Audacity. Okay, mixing and mastering, you can do some of that in Audacity. Okay, let's go down here. Using a podcasting plugin like PowerPress or something is a good idea to make it a little bit easier for you. But most WordPress sites, it's pretty easy to download, especially if you're using Libsyn, to just download the code for their player and embed it on your website. Measurement is pretty important. I'm also going to add to this list to go in and use the new Apple Podcasts analytics, because it'll actually show you now when people are dropping off, meaning when they listen to your show, when people leave or stop. So you can get an idea of whether you should have your intro be longer or shorter, or put calls to action at the beginning or at the end. And then to make sure that you have listed your podcast on the major directories here. And I think that's about it. It's nice to have a weekly newsletter where you let people know about your episode so they know what's in it. So yeah, if you ever have any questions or some of this checklist doesn't make sense, feel free to email me at danny@emeraldcitypro.com. I will be the one answering the email. So hope you have fun with the checklist, and stay tuned. Look out for a few emails in the next week or two. I'm going to be sending you my pre-recording checklist and my pre-interview checklist as well, along with some other goodies. So thanks again for downloading the checklist, and I hope to hear from you soon.